to have a few, I'll make a few opening comments and then be glad to field some questions. First, I want to thank Governor Warner and Governor Huckabee for leading the NPA. Appreciate the job you've done. I thought the messaging in local newspapers here was very positive. The governors coming together to try to figure out how to solve common problems. It's a good message for all of us here in Washington to hear. It can be fairly bitter at times. And I remember fondly nowadays of working with people, both parties, to try to get positive things done for my state. I hope that the spirit in which you all come to Washington spreads throughout the nation's capital. I appreciate the members of my cabinet who are here. Your name is? It takes a while to get to know every member of the cabinet. Mike Levitt and Chertoff. Oh, there you are. I appreciate, I hope you find these folks as candid and as bright as I found them. I really appreciate all three members of my cabinet willing to come and serve in Washington. As you know, your administration can be defined by who you surround yourself with. I surround myself with good, capable people. I hope you found that to be the case. Candid, open people that are interested in working with our governors. And we've had some challenges that we have faced together. Our economy, as you know, got rocked by a recession and an attack and corporate scandals. But I'm pleased to know that your budgets are improving, that revenues are on the rise. That's because the economy's growing. And we're adding jobs, and the fundamental question is how do we keep the economic growth alive? I spent a lot of time thinking about that here in Washington. I brought some ideas forward to the Congress, such as making sure the tax relief that we passed is permanent, that people are able to predict their tax rates in a better way so that they can plan. Part of making sure that the entrepreneurial spirit is strong so there's kind of certainty. And we're working with Congress to make sure there's certainty. The tax code itself needs to be reformed. I think the tax code is one that inhibits the flow of capital and growth, and so I've called upon former Senators Mack and Breaux to bring forth some ideas about how to simplify the tax code to make it more entrepreneurial friendly. That report should come out this summer. It'll be an interesting challenge, but it's one that is a necessary challenge for Congress to work to simplify the code. We've started with legal reform here. I encourage you all in your own states to do the same thing. It turns out that America is one of the most litigious countries in the world. And that makes it hard to compete in a global society. We have a competitive disadvantage when we sue each other so much. And we got a good class action bill out of the House and the Senate. We're working on asbestos reform. I'm working hard to create a consensus that the scales of justice ought to be balanced. And I think a lot of people tell you they're not balanced now. So we want to work here in Washington on legal reform. We hope you do. I'll continue to work to open up markets and at the same time enforce our rules to make sure the playing field is level. It's good for your farmers that they're selling products overseas. It's good for your entrepreneurs that they can open up markets. What's not good is when the rules are unfair. And so we continue to work to enforce laws on the books. We need an energy plan. We got an energy plan, we need an energy bill. And I want to thank you for your support of the Clear Skies legislation. That'll help some of you who are having trouble meeting your clean air requirements to do so without affecting your economies. And I asked you to clap a couple of times during dinner. Thank you, Joe. Yeah, what a good singer. Look, what I'm telling you is we're going to deal directly with the twin deficits. The trade deficit. The best way to deal with that is to make America the best place in the world to do business. By working to sustain economic growth, you're also working to make sure it's a good place to do business. That's the best way to deal with one aspect of the twin deficit. The other part of the twin deficit, of course, is the budget deficit. You've seen our view, our attitude about that, and so I presented a good lean budget to the Congress. It sets priorities, it meets priorities. It in essence does what you do. It says if a program isn't working, don't fund it. Or if it duplicates efforts, streamline. And as you know, we're working with our governors to figure out ways to deal with not only discretionary spending issues, but mandatory spending issues such as Medicaid. We want Medicaid to work. We want poor children covered by S-chip. We also recognize that the system needs to be reformed, and we want to work with you to do so. There's no better group of people to work with than the governors. The governors are on the front line of Medicaid. I know full well. We're worried about intergovernmental transfers. So we put that on the table for discussion so that the system works the way it's supposed to work. We want to work with you as well on education matters. And I want to thank Governor Warner for leading the charge for high standards coming out of high schools. It was an appropriate and important message. Some in Congress may want to try to undermine No Child Left Behind. Forget it. We're not going to let them do it because it's working. And I want to thank you all for implementing No Child Left Behind, using the powers of the federal government, the flexibility the federal government has given you to achieve what we all want, which is an educated America. And the hopeful thing is that the achievement gap is closing in America. How do we know? Because we measure. So I want to congratulate you for the initial stages of making sure the education system works fully. And I look forward to working with the governors on implementing ideas about how to make sure the high school systems work. We want to work with you on the Workforce Investment Act reform. And we train I think we spend about $4 billion a year to train 200,000 people. I think we can do a little better job than 200,000 people being trained with $4 billion a year. And so we want to work with our governors to figure out ways to enhance flexibility to get the job done, which is to train people for the jobs of the 21st century and to utilize the fantastic community college systems that you all have helped build all around the country. We want to work with you on health issues. One of the things that we have done is expand community health centers. I hope you felt the impact, in particularly your poor counties and poor neighborhoods, by the expansion of community health centers. We've expanded and modernized some 630 of them. We plan to do 700 more this year. It's a fantastic way to help take the pressure off your emergency rooms. I'm a big believer in health savings accounts, and I hope that you all look at health savings accounts as a way for small business owners to be able to better afford insurance for their employees. It's a great way to enhance consumer participation in the medical marketplace and at the same time help small businesses address costs. I believe in association health plans that will allow small businesses to aggregate together, to pool risk, and to be able to buy insurance, pool risk across jurisdictional boundaries. I understand there's some issues. There's some people in the respective states, people who might have got a pretty good lock on selling insurance that don't like this idea. But the objective is affordable insurance. And so I want to work with Congress to allow association health plans to expand. We got an issue when it comes to medical liability reform. I can remember talking to OBGYNs from a lot of states, trying to look around for governors, particularly in some states that are particularly need of medical liability reform. I've come to the conclusion that this is a national issue. When I first got here, I said the states can handle it. Until you look at what the cost of defensive medicine, what it costs to the federal budget. It costs us billions of taxpayers' money, and I've concluded it's a national issue, and I'm working with Congress to get out a reasonable bill on medical liability reform. It's necessary if you believe that medicine ought to be affordable and available. Because we got a problem. When you got OBGYNs being run out of business in America, you got a problem in your states, and you know that. So I look forward to taking on this issue again at the federal level. A couple other things I want to say, and then I'll answer some questions. Some of you are probably wondering why I took on the Social Security issue. After all, it had been called the third rail of American politics. I am because the demographics have changed dramatically, and you're beginning to see it in your states. You've seen it through Medicaid, you know about it in Medicare, and of course you know about in Social Security, because most of us are baby boomers and we're fixing to retire, and there's a lot of us. And yet we've been promised bigger benefits than the previous generation. And we're living longer. So you got baby boomers fixing to retire who are living longer, who've been made a bigger promise than the previous generation, and the government can't afford it. There's not enough workers contributing in the system. And we need to do something about it now. And I'm coming to your states. I'm coming to a lot of states between now and whenever Congress decides to take this issue on head on, to remind people not only we have a problem, but we have an obligation to fix it. And I'm looking forward to this debate. I think this is a healthy use of our time in Washington to see big problems and come together and fix them. Now, the Medicare bill hasn't taken effect yet, but it too suffers from the same demographic issue. So you've got a lot of baby boomers that are going to retire, and the fundamental question is, how do we deal with it? My attitude, and I've told Congress, let the reforms that we just passed kick in. They hadn't kicked in yet. 2006 is when you begin to have prescription drugs become available to seniors. In 2006 is when you're going to see drugs begin to replace, over time, drugs begin to replace hospital stays. See, the old system would pay for a heart surgery, but not a dime for the prescription drugs that might prevent the heart surgery from being needed in the first place. It's very cost ineffective, nor did it offer our seniors a modernized system. And so we look forward to working with you and Congress on Medicare reform after we solve the Social Security problem. And finally, I urge you to continue to take advantage of the faith-based initiative. I believe that the best way to cure many of society's ills is to surround them with love, and faith-based groups exist purely because they want to love somebody or do love somebody. And we're working really hard to make sure that federal money is accessible on a competitive basis to our faith-based programs around the country. I've traveled our country a lot. I found these just fantastic institutions that are changing America one soul at a time. And I urge you, if you don't have an office, to set up a faith-based office and take advantage of the fantastic opportunity available we're trying to make available to the faith community. Not every problem is going to be solved by a faith-based group, but at least you ought to include faith-based groups in the mix. It makes sense to me to make sure that taxpayer money is accessible on a competitive basis. And it's all aimed, the program is all aimed at helping change this country for the better. Let me talk about foreign policy right quick. I know a lot of you have got guard troops in Iraq. I want to thank you for supporting those troops. Whether you agree with my decision or not, you've done your duty as commanders-in-chiefs to support the troops, and I appreciate it a lot. And more importantly, they appreciate it, and their families appreciate it. I thought the hug at the State of the Union helped talk about the mission better than any words could have. And I hope that helped you when you explained to the families in your state what's happening, the gratitude of the Iraqi woman toward the American mom whose son had died. This profound gratitude that the country was free. And freedom's on the march. These are exciting times in our world. But I want to thank you for doing your duty and supporting those kids, men and women who are over in harm's way. We're making progress there. The mission is to get the Iraqis in a position where they can defend themselves. We'll try to do that as soon as possible. Get it done as quickly as we can, and then our troops are coming home with the honor they've earned, as I said, in the State of the Union. I'm looking forward to working with you all. I'm excited about the next 4 years. I've got the energy and the drive and the desire to do the best I possibly can to make America as hopeful and optimistic place as possibly can be, and I know it can't be done without cooperation with the governors. Thank you all.